Welcome to your 20-minute podcast with David Brower, brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/your20-minute podcast. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Now, here's your host, David Brower.
Thanks, Allan. This is David Brower with your 20-minute podcast. Our guest today from New Brunswick, Canada. Did I say that right?
You got her.
Marc MawWhinney, the coach for coaches, is our guest today. He's a lifelong entrepreneur who's on a mission to help coaches build successful businesses. He achieves this with his coaching programs, his podcast, Natural Born Coaches, his Facebook group, The Coaching Jungle, and his exclusive print newsletter, The Secret Coach Club, which is fascinating to me. Marc, greetings from Colorado. Good to have you here, man.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
You bet. So you've been the coach for coaches for quite a while. How did you get into this? What was your epiphany that said, I want to help people do better?
It's an interesting story. I'll give you the Cliff's Notes version. So I was in real estate for 10 years throughout my 20s, and everything was going great until it wasn't going great, and then my business closed. And I had a few years of, I say, in the wilderness, where I was trying to decide what my next steps are going to be. I knew I wanted to go back into business, but I was sick and tired of real estate and finished with that. And I was helped by several coaches and mentors through that process. And that's how I found out about coaching. And that's why I believe in coaching, because I've gone through it, personally benefited from it. And that got me started early 2014. I officially became a coach, and here we are today.
That's outstanding. What a great story. It's always amazing to me how most of us, if not all of us, at some point in our lives, have to hit the bottom or get a kick in the butt or get a wake-up call or whatever you want to call it. And then all of a sudden, through the course of many distractions and many frustrations, we find what we're supposed to be doing in life. That's always a thrill. And
it's funny, before all that happened, I had been approached a few times through the good years of real estate by people who were coaches. And I thought, why would I need a coach? Don't you see how well I'm doing here? I don't need a coach. And looking back, I think if I'd had a coach, then I don't know that if the outcome would have been different. I think it would have at least been a softer landing for sure, because it helps to have a second set of eyes. And because regardless how motivated or accountable you are to yourself, it's really tough to see some things. We all have blind spots, and I think that's why coaches are very valuable to have.
Absolutely right. And you help people bounce back from adversity to through a lot of your own adversity that you got to deal with. You can share with them life experiences.
Yeah, it makes me a better coach, because I've had those sleepless nights, and I've been attacked and had critics and haters coming at me and all this other stuff. So I have the battle scars from, like a lot of entrepreneurs, life of an entrepreneur, right? That's just par for the course, but it has made me a better coach. So I'm always a little bit, when somebody tells me they've never experienced any setbacks, I wonder if they're trying to do big things or if they're playing it too safe, because there's a good chance they're playing it too safe if they've never had any challenges or setbacks.
Isn't that the truth? I mean, I need to be learning something every day, and if that means I have to have a setback along the way, okay, that's an opportunity to keep growing and keep moving. And I love change, and I love setbacks. Isn't that kind of weird?
That's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
So when you're working with these people and you're working with these coaches and helping them become better coaches. A lot of stuff going on today in marketing. You see it all the time on Facebook and wherever, is all these funnels and expensive ads and all that kind of stuff. And you help folks build their online business without that kind of stuff.
Right. Organically. Yep.
How does that work?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, because when I started my coaching business, I didn't have that big war chest to throw a bunch of money at ads. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like in real estate, I always had a good bit of money there just where I'd been doing well. So I had to make up for, when I started coaching, for the lack of resources with my energy and efforts and organic stuff. So that's why I'm such a big believer in the things that I teach and I help people with, is because that's how I grew my business. So I'm not saying that ads are bad. I think if you've got the budget for it and stuff like that, great. But there's a myth out there that you have to be doing Facebook ads or paying Google or whatever. And you can build a business without that stuff. But if you're not doing the paid ads, you got to make up for the lack of paid ads with effort. And unfortunately, a lot of people are, instead of taking that fork in the road, either paid ads or a lot of organic content and effort, they don't do either. They say, well, I don't have the money to put into ads, but then they're not putting much out there organically. And that's where they run into a tree in the middle of the road, right?
Oh,
instead
my
of taking
gosh.
that fork. So you have to choose one or the other, or blend the two together, but you just can't not do either. That won't work.
You got to have some focus, you got to have some direction, you got to have some commitment, and you got to have some fortitude to stick with it consistently, I would think.
Yeah, a lot of people nowadays too, unfortunately with coaching, a lot of online businesses, you get a lot of get-rich-quick people.
Yeah.
Because they're seeing those ads, hey, buy my secret system, or fancy funnel, and you'll be making $1 million in a week working 5 minutes a day. And we both know that it doesn't work like that.
No,
so, unfortunately,
no free lunch thing is alive.
Oh my God, no. And it was the same way in real estate. I used to see a lot of people jump in and become real estate agents thinking, oh my God, look at the average commission they'll make per sale. And they got dreams of dollar signs floating through their heads. The same way real estate was the top 20% were making 80% of Pareto's principle. It's the same way with coaching. 20% is making 80% of the business, and probably any industry out there, the 80-20 rule applies.
I agree. I've always lived by the 80-20 rule, and it's just been fascinating to me. No matter what industry or what business or what venture I've gone into, it always pans out that way. And so when I pay attention to that, I'm much more successful more quickly than if I leave it off the table.
Exactly. It's funny how it can apply across the board.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd like to know who created that or who first came up with that. It's always been a fascinating thing to me.
Yeah. Well, it was Pareto, and I forget if he was, I want to say, an Italian scientist or economist or something hundreds of years ago, but his name was actually Pareto, I believe, because I heard it in an audiobook I was listening to once. So
nice.
Yeah.
All right. You made my day. I can go sleep now. I can go take a nap. So you've got a very successful podcast, Natural Born Coaches. Your Facebook group has over 15,000 in it. You got 56,000 Twitter followers. You're on LinkedIn. You're everywhere on social media. Has that all been a natural, organic part of how you grow your coaching business?
Yeah, it's been easy, 5 minutes a day for a month, and there I had it. I'm just kidding.
No, I know.
That was a lot of work. So my podcast, the first 300 episodes, it was a daily show. We're up to 554 now as we're recording this, but the first 300 were daily. And everything that I do, I go into it. Obviously, I'm hoping for the best,
right.
But I don't have unrealistic expectations. So with the podcast, I wasn't like a lot of people that do 2 or 3 shows and expect to get a rush of clients. I said, I'm going to put out the best possible product, and that should bring clients, should bring customers in there. So I had Bob Berg, the author of The Go-Giver, on my show before, and he said something that's always stuck with me. He said, money is an echo of value. So if you're putting enough value out there, it'll be reflected in your bank account. If you're not putting the value out there, it will be reflected in your bank account. You won't have much money there. And I've always remembered that. So I think one of my superpowers is patience and consistency. I'm not a get-rich-quick that expected to make $1 million in the first month. I just said, I'm going to go out there, do what I have to do, and trust the process.
Patience and consistency, no question about that. I've been very blessed, and I was in radio for 28 years, and I never, ever took a job for the money. I always took the job because I felt there would be an opportunity there, either for me to grow or to help other people grow or what have you. And then the money always showed up. I never worried about it.
Yep.
And
so
that was,
oh
my
Brown, right?
God, what a gift. Yeah.
I think Les Brown did that with the radio station. He got in sweeping the floors and stuff like that, doing gopher work just to get in his foot in the door. And now look where he's at.
Yeah. My first job in radio was, my nickname was Gopher, because you go for this, go for that. And I painted the inside of a bomb shelter, so I can relate. Your Secret Coach Club is fascinating to me, secretcoachclub.com, and I was reading the letter that you send out to prospective members of that, and you really kind of discourage them, don't you?
Yeah, it sounds counterproductive to do that, or counterintuitive, but I don't want to get rich quick people in there.
Yeah.
I also don't want the people, that newsletter is a 16-page hard copy newsletter, no digital copies, no PDFs. I don't want people to look at it and say $97 a month for 16 pages, what a ripoff. Instead, I want the person that says, oh my God, $97 and this will help me make an extra couple $1,000 this month, or turn it into something bigger, people that can see that. So I've been doing it since March 2017. It's been going really well with it. And I love that format. It's very old fashioned, but there's different reasons for it. We could do a whole show on that, but
I bet
doing a hard copy format that's what I think the secret sauce is there, not having any digital copies.
And I was fascinated by that because so many things come back to us 25 years later or whatever that is. The way businesses succeed. I mean, even bell-bottom pants, for crying out loud. Everything has a way of coming back at some time or another. So for you to be ahead of the curve, in my opinion, by bringing back this old school style of marketing and coaching and teaching I just love the heck out of it. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, there's actually more print newsletters out there than you would realize. They're kind of hidden under rocks. But I mean, Dan Kennedy has a print newsletter, and I'm a subscriber for a couple different ones, and that's what motivated me to set this one up for coaches there about over a year ago. So there are more out there. It's just you have to pull up the rocks and look underneath to find them. But I think they're a great method because nowadays people are just used to, if they're getting anything in the mail, it's either bills or junk mail. They're not used to actually getting anything that's of value.
Yeah.
So they seem to like that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing is because we're in a world of instant gratification, we want that. I want it now. I want to be rich now. I want an ad on Facebook because that's what everybody does. I want to have 25 million Twitter followers because that's what everybody does. And if you slow down, like you were saying, and be patient and consistent and put the effort, the authenticity of what you're doing out there, that's the best way to grow.
No, I agree.
Fascinating. So how do you get how do you solicit people, if that's the right word, to get notice and to sign up for your secret hard copy newsletter?
I have three ways I get business, and those three are podcasting. So that's on both sides of the mic. My shows, I have a few shows, and then going on to shows like this one. So there's podcasting, there's Facebook, and the Facebook group's a big part of it. And then there's email marketing. I do daily emails to my list.
Nice.
And those daily emails will hammer that message, the call to action for the hard copy newsletter. So if I'm doing those three things, and I'm talking about the newsletter enough, that's going to get new subscribers coming in. Absolutely. I get a lot of my subscribers at the end of the month because, of course, with the end of the month approaching is where the deadline's coming to get the next month issued to the printer.
Yeah.
So I really hammer it hard the last month of the year, last week of the month. And that's when most of the subscribers rush in.
How fascinating. So do you tease them? Do you give them little nuggets that makes them jump under the rock, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, I think people like to be teased. That's the whole reason why horny guys drive to Vegas and pay strippers, right? Without even touching them.
That's right. Yeah,
they like to be teased. Yeah. What I should mention with the newsletters, the content that's in there is all exclusive content. It's not just repackaged blog posts or Facebook posts or anything like that. So I treat my subscribers, I treat it really a really important thing. It's not just microwave reheated content. I treat them like clients, really. So every issue is either 16 to 20 pages, and there's usually a bonus report in there as well. So it could be upwards of 5,000 words. But it's all actionable stuff too. It's not fluff. It's stuff that they can put into action through that month. But it's interesting. I find if I'm, everything I do, I'm not afraid to sell. So I say you got to ABO, always be offering. So if you're giving enough value out there, people will give you a wide berth and they'll be cool with you selling. Where people run into trouble is if they're just promoting, that's it. Like it's like the home shopping network. Right. Then people are going to tune out. So I mix infotainment, I guess, entertaining type content, but then every email, for example, has a call to action at the end of it.
You bet.
And I think that's what you have to do. There's too many people out there. I see it in the coaching world. All they're doing is sharing famous people's motivational quotes. Les Brown, Oprah Winfrey, Tony Robbins, and so on, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar. And then they're wondering why they're not getting any clients. Well, they're not putting their own stuff out there, and they're not making offers. So they're not inviting people to take the next step to get help from them.
Makes perfect sense. You've got to be creative. You got to have great content. You got to be, I keep going back to what you said, patient and consistent,
Yep.
and then always giving a call to action. And you put all those pieces together, and a lot of people don't. They do the scrape off the top from other experts and hope they can make a buck. And that's just, there's no authenticity to that.
No, people can go on Google and type in motivational quotes and get 7 trillion results in less than a second.
Right.
So
right.
There's nothing special there. And I do something called the last 10 test with the coaches I'm working with, because I'll hear that. I hear people say, gee, Mark, I post 5 times a day on Facebook and I don't get anything. I don't know what's going on. The last 10 tests is when you pull up your social media platform of choice, whether it be Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever, and you look at your last 10 posts, or let's say tweets, if it's Twitter or so on.
Sure.
You want to see ideally at least 7 or 8 of that being in your own voice and your own message. And then 1 or 2 can be the other way, but you don't want it to be flipped. So most of them, when I go in and look at it, I see that 80% of their stuff is just, they're sharing a Gary Vaynerchuk video or someone else's quote, a motivational quote or image, and that's why they're having trouble. It should be flipped the other way. So I always say do the last 10 tests.
Well, and you're right back being very close to that 80-20 rule, aren't you?
Yeah, there we go. That's the theme today, the Pareto. You know what I should have said is I should have said, yeah, actually, I created the Pareto principle there, David. I was born in 78, but I created it.
Yeah, I've come back to life many times, and I'm doing well. Thanks for calling. That's awesome. So if people want to reach out to you, obviously they can catch your podcast on all the usual places, iTunes and all the different things, Natural Born Coaches, your Facebook group, The Coaching Jungle, and of course your exclusive print newsletter, The Secret Coach Club, available at secretcoachclub.com. Is that the place to start checking you out, or all of those places? What's the best way to get a little more informed and contact you?
Well, the home base is naturalborncoaches.com. That's where I've got, everything, or links to everything. But actually the Facebook group is where I spend a lot of time. Mm-hmm. .coachingjungle.com will direct you directly to the Facebook group. So .coachingjungle.com is where you can pop in. There's lots of great people in there too. And I've had people tell me that group is giving them more value than things that they paid for.
Wow.
And it's a free group. So .coachingjungle.com.
Fascinating. TheCoachingJungle.com. You get him on Twitter at Marc MawWhinney. There you go, Marc MawWhinney. That's MarcMawWhinney. And the main website, naturalborncoaches.com. Marc, it's been a real pleasure, man. Thanks for sharing a few nuggets with us today and your process and creating the 80-20 rule.
Thanks, David.
Your 20-minute podcast with David Brower has been brought to you by Audible. You can listen to any of David's podcasts anywhere podcasts can be found, including iHeartRadio, the Spotify mobile app, and at davidbrowervo.com/your20-minute podcast. Until next time, thanks for listening.